What's happening, everyone? It's Wednesday, June 10th, 2021. You tuned in to 2.5 Hoopers, Etuan Moore's favorite basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Lehman. With me, I have joined by George Martin.
I think today's the 9th, right?
It's midnight, and I was like, what's today's date? So it's tomorrow's date. Oh, man, it is the 9th.
Special midnight pod.
Yeah, we'll keep it. Hi, Josh Nowakowski. It's Wednesday. It is, promise. No Josh today. He's doing boyfriend duties.
It's his anniversary.
As all kings do.
Everybody call and congratulate Josh on his anniversary. It's his 6 months.
Luckily, I'm back. I hope next episode we'll have a full squad. Are you moving, George? Are you moving on Thursday?
It's up in the air. I was told Friday, but then my mom was like, "Oh well, we might do it like Thursday night to get an advantage." And I said, "Huh?" So we're up in the air. I think I'll be able to go. We'll see.
Well, I hope, but I'm glad to be back. I didn't like missing out a pod. I didn't feel right. I had like an icky feeling in my stomach, but nonetheless, I'm back, and we got a good show for you guys. Nets just broke the Bucks' spirit, so we're going to cover that. Sixers tied the series with the Hawks due to an Embiid 40 bomb, and a few coaches and teams decided to part ways, probably for the better, but we'll get into that. Remember, if you guys like what you're make sure to follow us at THOopers, Instagram and Twitter. Give us a comment, give us a follow. We'll give a shout out. We'll answer your question. Yada yada. You know the drill. But yeah, we're gonna get right into this. Game ones. We're gonna start with the 2 game ones on, and then we're gonna head to the 2 game twos. Just an easy way to follow it. So start us off. Jazz beat the Clippers 112-109, taking obviously 1-0 series lead. Big story here. Donovan Mitchell 45 points. Did take him 35 to get there, but still over 50%, and he knocked down 6 of 15 threes. For the rest of the squad, they didn't give him a whole lot, but Gobert did have a double-double. As for the Clippers, is this pandemic P? It is. It's 4 for 17, so it does that just. It's below 25%, so I think it's pretty pandemic P. Kawhi was not as efficient as he was in the Mavericks series. He shoots below 50. Well, what'd you take away from this game? I mean, Luke Kennard, 18 points, followed up his Game 7 game with another one here. That's the only positive I could really find here. Just what were your thoughts on this game? The Clippers are up by 13.5, 60-47.
They were. Yeah. So this was a very interesting game. So what happened was early on, Jazz went on a huge slump. I think they missed like 18, 20. I don't want to say like in a row, but I mean, it was damn near consecutive shots. They would go miss like 8 in a row, then make one, and then
they took 23s in the first quarter. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I mean they were open, but they were just they were over settling, in my opinion. Like they weren't looking to attack. The Clippers were kind of just giving it to them. They just said, let's see if you're hot from behind the arc. And I think a little bit to do. I mean, I don't even want to use it as an excuse because like the Clippers were up a lot. I do think some of this had to do with their coming off a 7-game series, a little bit fatigued. Ty Lue went to deep in his bench where he hadn't done much in the first round. Pat Bev got minutes. Boogie got minutes, a little bit surprising. And Terrence Mann only getting 8, I don't like that at all because he was phenomenal for them in that Game 7, basically helped them win that game with his points and just being all around. So, yeah, Jazz, they were very determined to come back here. They played well down the stretch, especially their ball movement, getting shots, making shots, and the Clippers, when it was money time, they kind of forced some shots down the stretch. So we'll see.
Yeah, what do you think of the outliers here are DeMarcus Cousins 4 minutes, Pat Bev 6 minutes, Team at 8 minutes, like you said. What do you think about him? Yeah, you mentioned he goes away from Terrence Mann when that was kind of like the key to coming back from that 3-2 deficit. And then guys like Marcus Morris 4 for 14 gets 33 minutes. Nick Batum starts at center again. Against Rudy Gobert, which was odd.
That was an interesting call.
But I mean, I guess we'll start thinking out loud here. Pat Bev and Cousins got all their minutes in the first half, and they're up by 13. And they went back to their old reliables, the Marcus Morris's, Reggie Jacksons, and they lose that lead. So what do you think about the coaching from Ty Lue? He proved in the first round he can be called upon to make these changes, but it seems like he wants to keep going back to those the old reliables when these guys like Terrence Mann and Boogie was playing great in that first half. Like he was playing really, really well. We got 4 minutes. So yeah, what do you kind of take away from that?
I didn't mind at all him doing what he did. They were kind of like a spark plug, little energy, especially because a guy like Boogie's trying to redeem himself with all these leg injuries, and Pat Bev hasn't really seen the floor a lot. So I did like the move, and it's just like another wrench in Utah's plans because they probably weren't expecting guys like this to come out. And then, yeah, like you said, he just went back to the same starters in the second half and, throughout the rest of the game. And I'm honestly not a fan of that as much, just going right back to your same starters. I mean, if you're on a run and you have a chance, to go 20 potentially and put the game at rest, you do what you have to do. Like, I'm not saying like start Boogie or Pat Bev, but I'm like, get those guys back in, see what you can get. And, if there's like a 5-minute stretch where they're not producing, pull them. But it was interesting to see him adjust and then not adjust not keep that same adjustment when it was working. It was a little bit weird.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he fixed it, another pipe burst, and then they lose. So
he put like Flex Seal on it, and there was like a little drip coming out, and he's like, I don't
instead of putting more Flex Seal on, he's like, I'll take the whole thing off, and it just leaked again. But yeah, because I didn't get to make any like previews for this. I'm sure you and Josh did a great job previewing the Clippers Jazz series, but I always think we're going to see a lot of Boogie here because Jazz are a big team. And Boogie, he's a physical guy. And they play him for 4 minutes here. And like I said, he played very, very well. He hit a three. He was banging down low with Rudy Gobert.
He got a steal on him too, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why Zubac and Batum got more minutes at the center than him. But, I mean, maybe that's just, Ty Lue was riding the hot hand from a Game 7 where that worked, and he'll adjust next game. So I don't want to dwell too much on it. I do want to go to the Jazz, though. And I guess we'll kind of keep banging on the Clippers here because they played very good defense, especially in the second half. Bogdan, I don't know if anyone really remembers, but on the Pacers, he was the guy in that 7-game series that checked LeBron. LeBron, I think, averaged like 35 points, but he was the Pacers' best defender then. He's no slouch. And, the wingmen for the Clippers really struggled. Like I said, PG, 4 for 17, Kawhi, 9 for 19, which is struggling for Kawhi as efficient as he's been. So what do you see from the defense here? I know they got guys like Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles. They got 3-and-D players down the line, but what kind of stood out to you?
So I'm kind of going to have to double back on what I said before. I actually thought the Clippers would have had a little bit of an easier time against these wings, but then I realized watching this game, they have Boyan, and then there's Ingles, Royce O'Neal, even Spida can switch out. Derek Favors was pretty good. Obviously, he's not switching on at anyone. But, yeah, I mean, this – and then I kind of realized from last series, like, they went to 7 games with, Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Tim Hardaway Jr., and I'm not trying to say they're scrubs, but those guys
on defense, they're scrubs.
They're lesser defenders, yeah, than the Jazz guys. Because I always think, like, whenever, like, LeBron would see the Jazz, it was just, like, food for him, but, again, nobody's holding LeBron, and those guys aren't as well equipped. So I'm like, oh, Kawhi and PG are going to have time. They made it rough on them. And I guess I kind of forgot, when PG was in Oklahoma City and Joe Ingles kind of made life tough on him there. I'm not going to say any jokes or, foreshadow into something else. But, yeah, they make life hell on those wings. And especially just their rotations. I mean, they're such a cohesive unit defensively. They'll switch if they have to. They'll recover well. And they're very – what's the word? Because on that last possession especially, they were just locking down. Like, they weren't jumping up at anything. They were just
they're
calm and collected. Disciplined. Thank you. God, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a way better defensive team. They have the intensity to bring it at those wings, and they have a chip on their shoulder. They're fearless. Like, they will bring it at you, especially.
So, yeah, let's just talk about Spida. 45 points, insane game. No one could check him. I think a lot of his points came in the second half during winning time. So just spent a little bit of time on that. What did you see from Spida this game? He hasn't had a game like this in the playoffs this year. He does not look he looks 110%. He's not injured at all. He's extremely healthy. And the Clippers defense is not good. So I guess you can give Donovan Mitchell props. Then what kind of changed? What did he see in that Clippers defense where I can just attack this defense because there's nothing there? Was it Nick Batum at center or was it something else?
Yeah, he was splitting a lot of double teams and screens. I feel like they kind of tried to guard him a little bit the same as they did with Luka. But Luka's very pick and roll oriented. Like, he'll drag you up and then he'll get a switch or he'll kick out. Donovan Mitchell's going right by you. He's either going up or he throws that swing pass out to the corner, and then it's like hot potato with the rock around the key. And in the first half, the Clippers were very disciplined and very good, rotating and getting back to the ball. Their rotations, they were going up to everything, and I think they might have gotten tired out. That could do a little bit with the 7-game series, or just because like last series it was we throw 2-3 guys at Luka, he throws it out, we let them shoot because the role players didn't do squat in game 6 and 7. If you do the same thing where you come up and blitz Donovan Mitchell, he's very good throwing that skip pass out to the corner because they go.
He's also way faster than Luka. They're both good at getting to the rim, but Mitchell can turn that corner. Not better than Luka, but a lot faster. It's a lot sharper of a corner. Luka kind of goes around, does a little Nash thing where he hooks your hip and then gets that. Mitchell just ducks his head and he's around that corner. Now he's playing 3-on-2, and it's a fast.
And then even then, if you do get a recovery to the corner, Clarkson, Ingles, one pass to it's always that one more offense, kind of like the Simi Valley High School offense. You throw it to the corner, one more to the other corner, and they shoot a 3. So they're gonna have to adjust somehow. Do you let Spider go one-on-one? I don't think so, but you can't do the same defense where you're going to let the role players get hot because these guys will shoot you out of a gym so quickly.
So yeah, what do you take? Because this team is, besides the reliance on the 3, a complete 180 from the Mavericks, the Jazz.
Very.
So how long do you think it'll kind of take the Clippers to kind of, because this isn't like it's just a one-man army. They got Mitchell, who's a great scorer like Luka, but they got these guys that'll lock you down and hit threes. And then we underestimate guys like Clarkson and Bogdan and even Joe Ingles that like can get to the rim and get some penetration there and really create offense. So what do you, because that was where I have Jazz in 6. I had that before this game, luckily, or else I'd seem like a little front runner. But yeah, this team is just completely different than the Mavericks, and the Clippers don't have a good defense whatsoever. They're kind of like the Mavericks of the West. They're extremely efficient on offense. They're great at the 3, but their defense is not there. And the Jazz have a top 5 defense in the league, probably a top 3 defense left in the playoffs. So, I mean, how long do you think that adjustment will take for the Clippers to kind of get there?
I don't think it'll take long. I kind of trust Ty Lue, and, they did only lose by 3. They were the last possession away, so I'm not going to say, like, they were right there because this is the playoffs and lost.
They were up by
no matter
30.
what.
They blew a big lead.
They blew a big lead, which is kind of their identity.
A lot of their demons reared their ugly head. The pandemic P, the struggling in the second half and in crunch time. A lot of these.
I don't want to get away from basketball right here, but really quick, I have to mention this up. They were like yelling overrated so much when Paul George was at the free throw line. It was so loud.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't want to harp on that too much, but back to your point.
Yeah. Did you answer the point? How long will it take for the Clippers to adjust to the Jazz?
Yeah, no, I think they're definitely going to come out with adjustments this next game, and I feel like their defense is definitely going to be less oriented on like point of attack on Donovan Mitchell and more. They're going to try and stay home on the shooters and kind of see what. Obviously, they're not going to let Donovan go one-on-one. He'll light you up for 55, like no matter what. They have to be disciplined on the shooters well enough and contain Mitchell at the same time. So that's where I'm at on it. I think they could get that by next game. It's not a crazy adjustment. It's just more of making sure that you're there when they make those passes and when they get those shots up. Because if they're open, they can kill you with it.
Yeah, so what's your prediction for this series?
I said Clippers in 6. I'm going to stay with it just because I'm not going to change it. I do think if Paul George isn't as horrible as he was, and I know it's like this is a repeat offense for him, but even Kawhi, he wasn't as great as he's usually been. If he's a little bit better, Reggie Jackson did foul out. There was some calls, but that's how the NBA's been this season. So they get a few of those kinks out the way, some calls their way. They probably win this game, so they're probably feeling good. So I'll stay Clippers in 6. If they steal game 2 here, I mean they should have all the confidence in the world. They steal home court and they go back to LA.
Did you have a split in your initial prediction? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I never told you guys, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you have them in 6, that probably means they don't go down 0-2 and then rattle off 4 in a row. To finish this off, the Conley injury did not play even after they went in 5 against the Grizzlies. Clipper series goes 7.
He had about a week off.
Yeah, they did have a very quick turnaround. That, don't get me wrong, affected the Clippers a lot more than it affected the Jazz, but Conley still didn't have enough time to rest. Resident foot doctor, you go a little bit up. There's the hammy. What do you make of this Conley injury? Is this something to be concerned about, or do you think we could see him as soon as game 2?
It was a mild hamstring injury, and the problem with those, they're so tricky because they're the soft tissues, and they, as we've seen with Harden, which we'll get into later, they can flare up any time. I mean, Harden, he had been healthy since his second reoccurrence of that injury flaring up, and in 43 seconds tightens up on him, and boom, you're out. So it's a very tricky injury. I don't know if he'll be back. I unfortunately really didn't get to like see if he warmed up, did any pregame stuff. But with a mild one, I've seen like some like Twitter. I'm not gonna say like Twitter doctors, but like some PTs and like the MDs and all that. They say like it's usually like 7 to 14 days, which makes sense for like a mild strain. So I mean, yeah, worst case scenario, he could probably be out like game 4, game 5. I don't think he goes in game 2. I would say game 3 is probably the most likely, but don't quote me on that because I'm not a certified PT yet.
You still got a few more years left of school. That's no biggie. Yeah, let's move on here. Second game 1 of the start of the week. Excuse me. Suns beat the Nuggets 122-105 in the 2-3 matchup out west. I just realized we're covering the West first and the East. Very, very, very simple, I guess, that way. Big news here that I take away from it. Ayton kind of matched Jokic, MVP Jokic. We'll get to that later. Ayton had 20 and 10 on 13 shots. Jokic 22, 9 and 3 on 23 shots. So not only did he match him, he played a lot better than him, honestly, with those 10 less shots. But yeah, Chris Paul also looked amazing here, 21 and 11. Only real bright spot for the Nuggets, I guess. JaMychal, don't call me Jeff Green. 10 points, 11 boards. He continues to play pretty well. What did you take from this first game? I have Denver in 7. I did have them get in the split, and in the first half it looked like it might happen, but second half Suns really pulled out. So what you see?
Yeah, I mean, Ayton is probably one of the better Jokic defenders. He's very physical. He stays home on Jokic, and he makes life tough on him. He's very physical, and even Jokic himself, I think Jokic said he's like the best guy to defend him, which, I mean, that could just be like, the friendly pre-series, oh, yeah, he's so great competitor, and then by the end of the series,
MVP,
yeah, by like game 5, he's going to shove him off him, and then fist fighting. But, yeah, for the Nuggets' sake, their offense was just flat. Monte Morris has usually been incredible for him, 1 for 10, and get this, minus 28 in a 17-point loss. I mean, that's just that's not something you see every day. So Jokic also struggled. He did have a lot of, and I know I said but a lot of it was just him missing. He went really cold in that third quarter when the Suns went on a run, and they won the quarter by 10 points. And that whole time it was just, he'd have a turnover. He had 4 in the game. He'd miss a shot. And also, one thing to note with how this game turned, the Suns are a very, very quick team. They get the ball and they run, and that's probably oriented with Chris Paul, or if Campaign's in deep book, they push that ball. And that's kind of how they beat the Lakers. The Lakers were hampered with injuries. Their effort wasn't there in a lot of the games. They push. And Denver, I mean, I'm not going to call them like a slower team, but you look at their starting lineup, they're athletic.
They got 2 white guys in there,
Campazzo, Rivers, Jokic. They're not the best of athletes. Gordon, obviously, the dunk champ, and Michael Porter Jr., who's pretty spry. But besides that, I mean,
they're a half-court team. Yeah.
Yes, they work you methodically in the half-court offense. And then getting to the Suns, I know I'm kind of taking the EJ rundown, but Mikal Bridges was phenomenal. 8 of 12, 23 points. He's really become a solidified 3-and-D guy. His defense was always there. It was the three-pointer, and he's like money from that corner. Chris Paul always finds him in that corner wide open, whether they, run screen actions or just Chris Paul doing his stuff on the perimeter. He always finds him there in the corner. He's really been knocking it down lately. And yeah, I mean, the Suns were just incredibly efficient, and Denver had nothing for him, which makes sense because their roster is basically, a pit of injuries right now.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be because I have Denver winning in 7, so I know I expect a few losses along the way. But it doesn't seem like Phoenix can play a better game than this, does it? I mean, and it doesn't seem like Denver could play a worse one. Nikola Jokic, he had that one game against the Blazers, remember, where, like I said, Mike Malone was drawing up everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic ISO right there on that little short corner there, take the midi, clank. He just has games like everyone where the shot just isn't falling. And yeah, I'm just going to regurgitate some of the stuff you said. Monte Morris, 1 for 10. That's not going to happen too often, or else they wouldn't be here. And then, yeah, Porter Jr., 3 for 8 from 3. Only 13 shots, too. I feel like he should be taking probably upwards 16. I know he wants to stay above 50%, but he needs to be taking some more of those shots. And during this game, I saw shots that were there, but the Phoenix, they're closing out fast on him, but like he's 6'10", he can get his jumper off against anyone. So I just wish he'd pull those. But yeah, as far as Phoenix, yeah, Ayton's going to continue to play Jokic well, but I don't think he'll shoot below 50% until I think he has one more of those left in the series, and the rest is going to be
I'd
a
be
lot
very
more
surprised
efficient than we've seen.
I'd be very surprised if Jokic doesn't bounce back. He's one of those players where, you know, like he has a bad game, especially in the playoffs. It's very rare for him to have 2 bad playoff games in a row. I mean, just like what we seen last year, he had 3 all-time performances when they were in elimination games twice, you know, in 2 rounds. So I'd be very surprised if he doesn't bounce back here.
And yeah, I think it was either in the Game 6 of the latest series or Game 1 of this series. They showed a stat where it's like Nuggets wins, Nikola Jokic 7 assists per game, Nuggets losses 3 assists per game. He had 3 here, so that's what, if the glove fits, he must have quit. But that doesn't have to do with him playing well. He gets his guys open. They're just not hitting. Like we said, once again, Monte Morris, 1 for 10. These guys weren't hitting their shots. Jokic can't do it alone. I'm surprised they haven't scored 105 because I was watching clank. It was embarrassing.
And that's something they can take away from it because the Suns do have a pretty decent defense. They're still getting 105 with a lot of their key guys really not producing for them.
Yeah, we saw a Bucks team get held at 86, which we'll get to. And like I said, they're getting these open looks and they're clanking them. And Suns are a great defense, but it's because Nuggets swing that ball around and around. You can get Jokic on one corner. He overhead swings it to the corner like that. Not a lot of teams can do that because Jokic is 7 foot and has that vision.
I will say some of the low assist count also has to do with the fact of how he's being defended. We saw in the Portland series, it was let Jokic do what he does, let him get up 20-plus shot attempts, don't let him play make because that's what he's most dangerous at. You could say even more than scoring, but we're not gonna have a full-fledged debate about that. You can get something in after, but yeah, they let him do what he does, let him settle for threes, let him get inside, and then Ayton, he's probably comfortable with having that one-on-one matchup. He's like, no, don't help, don't. Double because that's dumb. We don't want him to throw perfect passes to guys, ready in the corner. So he feels confident in that one-on-one matchup. They're probably going to keep defending him like that. And if they can keep the assist down, this is really the first playoffs I've seen his assists, be this low. And it's because of how he's being defended, unfortunately, with their roster shortcomings due to injury. So this is pretty interesting. We'll see how this holds up. See if he can, his teammates can break through because I think he can definitely get 7-8 assists if those guys, make 5 more shots.
Yeah, because it used to be you want to load up on Jokic. Guess what? We got Jamal Murray there. Break him down, drop 50, Jamal. I'll sit here in the corner. I don't care. Like, I'm a team player. But now it's all Jokic, and I think it shows why he's the MVP because I just have a feeling he's going to get it done. And I don't see him winning any less than 2 of these games here. I think everyone has going at least 6 against the Suns, who beat the defending champs. So I guess I'll end this off with a question. Can you live with the way – I know you said Ayton's a good defender. We also said that Jokic just kind of missed some open shots. Can you live with the way that Ayton's playing? Because I know we're saying it's physical with him, but, what about the fundamentally how the Suns are defending him? Could you live with that, or is there a few things you want to see change that could go against them if Jokic starts hitting a shot?
I live with it until it becomes a massive problem because you can kind of get away with it with this Nuggets team.
And what's this? The
injured Nuggets team.
But how are they playing Jokic? What do you mean by they can get away with this?
I'm just saying, like one-on-one coverage, and if the role guys aren't hitting, you get away with it. Now, if in game 2 MPJ's got 20 at halftime and Compazzo or Rivers are balling, then you're kind of gonna have to, pack it in more on Jokic, and then hope they miss more. I guess I don't know. That's the story of the playoffs. It's really been fascinating this year because there's just so many good 3-point shooting teams. It's some of the time it's just let them shoot and see if they can shoot you out of the gym. That's kind of how it's been. So you live with it until it takes you out and you need to make a change.
Yeah. Good coverage there. Let's move on to the East. Let's move on to the game 2s. Nets break the ever-seen Batman Rise of the what's it called? Rise of the Dark Knight when Bane just snaps his back. It's hard to watch. 125-86. Brooklyn Nets kill the Milwaukee Bucks. Take a 2-0 series lead. This was disgusting, especially for 2 guys who were the Bucks are different this year. They got Drew Holiday for 3 first-round picks. It's gonna be different.
It's us two.
Thank God there's no "I told you so" from Josh here. Thank God he's having a lovely candlelit dinner watching Lady and the Tramp at his girlfriend's house. I couldn't take it right now because I'm watching this game. I'm like, what's going on? Chris Middleton can't hit a goddamn shot. Drew Holiday, he didn't shoot a lot, but he went 6%. It's not really his fault. Giannis 8 for 15. Middleton, 7 for 20. Just tough to watch. They didn't get a lot of shots up. With the way I'm looking at it, in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant 32 on 18 shots. This game once again without James Harden, and it just breaks my heart because like I told myself after the James Harden injury, I'm like, well, it's a lot more of an even table, even slate now. Why did I even have the Bucks in the first place then? Because if they miss their second best player, a reigning MVP, and I'm like, oh, it's chalk now. It's even. It could go either way. Then the Nets are just 10 times better anyways. Blake Griffin, once again, he came through as far as like the intangibles. He's kind of like their Draymond Green, which, again, how the hell did Blake Griffin turn to Draymond Green? But he's doing that for the Nets now. Mike James, again, he didn't shoot well, but he ran the show great. What'd you take from this, man? Because like it's – let me carry the 6. Yeah, that's a 39-point blowout. Call it 40 for fun.
It was almost 50 at one point. I think it was 49.
You beat the Bucks by 40 in a series where some people were taking Milwaukee because it's different this year. Is it different this year? Have you lost faith?
I mean, I haven't lost faith, but I'll tell you, it's looking dark. It's not looking encouraging at all. I mean, Brooklyn scored like their mandated 120 points. Like they didn't. It wasn't like they scored like 150 and Milwaukee was just like we can't do anything. Milwaukee couldn't do anything against a Nets defense who is so vulnerable inside and attacking and just I don't know what Milwaukee's doing. They have the personnel, they have the pieces to literally dice up this Brooklyn Nets defense. They could use Giannis as a roller. Like they're not running pick and rolls. Giannis, he'll dribble the ball up the floor, right? And then he kicks it to like Drew or Chris to do something. He just stands there. He can cut, but everyone's going to collapse on that, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know why he's trying to be the main ball handler. Like that should be Drew. That's why you got him. He can be the point. He's the upgrade of Eric Bledsoe.
I want Giannis in the post. That's what I want. Everyone wants him there.
In the post or being a roller. Like if he sets a screen. And if Drew's hot, right, because everyone thinks he should be, that he's a pretty good postseason player, if they go up on it, you dump it down to Giannis, you throw a lob, nobody's stopping him inside. If Giannis catches the ball, like in right out of the restricted area, he's dunking over. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. I've seen him dunk over AD. I've seen him dunk over like anybody. So, and then just Chris Middleton, I mean, he's just been an abomination this whole series. I think he's barely shooting 40%. I honestly, like, there's really not much you can say about, like, the Bucks. It's just they're not shooting well at all. Their defense is god-awful. I mean, it's worse than, the worries I had about it in the regular season. I was worried because I thought it was just, like, effort-based and, inconsistent. This is just their drop coverage is or it doesn't, and it's not even just Brook Lopez. It's just in general. Like they're just letting.
Well, let me stop right there. This is not a Brook Lopez series. I know I've defended him. I know you don't like him. I always have to defend him. There's no room for him here, and I'm like, they need to play PJ Tucker. Well, they started him, played him 22 minutes. Not a lot of minutes go around here in a blowout. But you got to either start Pat Connaughton or Bryn Forbes, and you move Giannis to center because they're playing Blake Griffin at center, and I know. It can't be some crazy idea George Martin thought of in his Wisconsin bedroom. There's got to be 90% of the coaches in the league go, yeah, you play Giannis at center when Blake Griffin's playing center for the Nets. It's not that hard. And I'm not here to say, oh, the Brooklyn Nets have a reimagined defense. They flipped the switch when playoff time came. 16 turnovers for the Bucks. And that's just laziness. That's just not knowing what the hell kind of offense you're running. And when you have a turnover, unless it goes out of bounds, is an easy 2 or 3 points for the Nets because it's either Kyrie, whoop, 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 layup package and one, or it's Joe Harris in the corner, green light.
The possessions are so key in any team playing the Nets. The possessions, you have to win the possession. You have to go down. You have to score, and then you have to timely stop the Nets, and that's what the Nets do to everyone now. But you give up 16 turnovers, it's going to be really hard for you to win that game unless Kevin Durant is starring in Thunderstruck 2. So yeah,
let's focus in a little bit more on that instead of just rambling about the Bucks and stuff. KD, okay. 32, he's playing phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
What have you seen? I mean, yeah, like I said, 12 for 18 here, 4 for 6 from 3. Just looks so in control. And Kyrie, he's not playing like the point guard where like, I always drive and kick, like get a bunch of assists, but he's setting the table as far as like, you go here, let's execute this offense. He's figure out where to get everyone in their best spots. And he gets KD in his best spots, and KD goes to work. KD's killing it.
Yeah, Kyrie hasn't even been like he hasn't had like an outlandish scoring performance yet, which is kind of like the scariest thing. He's basically taken on Harden's role of like setting up the offense, telling guys where to be, get to their spots, and also specifically for KD, he's been locked in on defense. He's been incredible this series defensively, getting timely steals, blocks, taking defensive assignments. I think part of that has to do with the fact that like the Nets are confident with Blake on Giannis, and I cannot believe in the year of 2021 that it's working. I mean, for this game, I guess because he had 34 and 11 in the first game. This one he only had like 18, and he was settling. He was taking pull-up threes. Like he doesn't want. I don't know like why he doesn't want to go. Not even just go inside like run and dunk. Just get to the high post, spin, take a fade, take a pull-up jumper, make it simple on yourself. And with Blake taking that assignment, KD can roam around. He can be the free safety. He's a high IQ player, so he can see the floor and where the ball's going and get those steals.
And I feel like they're in his head because in those games where he was dominating the Nets in that back-to-back where they won both of them, and that's what kind of swung us, I think. Swung Colin Coward. He had the Bucks win the whole goddamn thing.
I mean,
and Giannis was hitting those threes.
Mm-hmm.
He was hitting those threes, and he probably felt great because you're going to sag off me? Drain it. Like, no one wants to be proven right by the defense. That, you're open for a reason. No one wants to be proven that. And 1/5 of his shots, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, were threes. For Giannis, that's way too many. And I know it's a blowout, only 30 minutes, only 15 shots. But 3 threes, 0 for 3 is not going to get it done when you're Giannis. And you've dominated in the paint. Dominating in the paint against Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And you're scared to go in there against Blake Griffin and Kevin Durant? Like, I know Kevin
Durant. It makes no sense because that Heat series should have been like the one to get over the hump, get over their demons. And this one just be like that series against Miami, that was, in my opinion, still is their toughest defensive draw by far. Mm-hmm. And like they got through that. They waxed them. Their shooting was incredible. Now they just can't hit the side of a barn. And like I said earlier, that's just how the tail of these playoffs are going to go because there's so many prolific scoring teams, shooting teams left that it might just literally be you might have a 2018 Rockets performance where you go 0 for 28 or you look like the 16 Warriors. So,
yeah. Two more things about the Nets. Just want to, again, Mike James, huge credit. This guy's a great floor general. Like, he just sets everyone up how they're supposed to be. He's the perfect point guard. Him and Campaign have really showed out in these playoffs. Mm-hmm. He's really taken on Harden's role. And then, secondly, speaking of Harden, Hammy again. It came out on a day before the game. He's gonna miss it. Not even we're gonna see how it goes in warm-ups. We're gonna see how he's feeling. He's out. This Hammy is serious. It's pretty serious. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. It was the third time in at least a month because I know he was recovering from the first one, had a setback, and then came back. I think he got 2-3 games in, and then first game of the second round, he's out. And just the hamstrings are so tricky. It's kind of just like a sprained ankle, honestly, where you're feeling fine, you lace up your shoes, then you go up and land wrong, and boom, there goes your ankle. Obviously, it's way different. I'm just trying to make the comparison that at any given time it can give out. So they're going to be very cautious. And as of right now, they don't need to play him until Game 5, unless. The only reason I see him playing is if this series is tied, which right now it doesn't look like it. Even if they split in Milwaukee, there's no reason to play him up 3-1. The only way I can, and they're not rushing him back at all. So honestly, even if they do tie it, I don't think until he's 115% healthy, he's not getting back out there.
But you relate it kind of it's not as serious as an Achilles injury, but it's there's no 100% this guy's going to go out there and re-injure it. It's just all how he's walking. Like it said, 40 seconds in, he injures it in the game 1.
And his play style doesn't really help it, in my opinion.
So is it really just get him until he's okay and then just play him when you get desperate? Or do you try and keep him out until the conference finals? Because I have Bucks in 6, you have Bucks in 7. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't pick that now. I would take the Nets. I think Nets can win this in 5, if we're being quite honest. They could definitely do it in 5. So, without Harden. So, would you try and, kind of hedge it? Hey, maybe we could keep him out one more game. Or do you maybe run into, the Jazz were Donovan Mitchell. Oh, you drop a game 1 of the Grizzlies. Now you don't get the sweep,
I don't – when you say hedge it, you mean okay, we're going to take it game by game. If we win, you're out. Yeah. If we lose, you're more likely to play. I don't think they do that. I saw a tweet, I think, from Malika Andrews. They're going to be way, way more, like, the most cautious they've ever been with an injury in their franchise history. Somebody said they were, like, because they saw what AD did in the Lakers. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I get what they're trying to say. I honestly might think it's no matter, even if they're somehow tied going into Game 5, I think he's still out. They have bigger pictures, and I think they're confident that they can win this series with the two guys they have. And they might not even just risk it for the long term. I mean, this season for them especially, I know they have a really good opportunity winning now because there's a lot of good teams that aren't in the field. But I don't know, is it worth, him potentially there's nothing really career-ending with a hammy, but something goes wrong and he ends up tearing an ACL or something, God forbid. So I think they're just going to keep him out until, like, the doctors at NYU clear him.
Yeah. Or Jay-Z. I think he owns the Brooklyn Nets. Let's move to the last game. We normally do it in order of, like, importance. It's only 1-1 series, so it's definitely not the least important of the batch, but not a very entertaining game. Sixers beat the Hawks in the 1-5 matchup, 118-102. Embiid, 40 points, 0 air humps. So, I mean, I don't know what the correlation is there.
He didn't give me N1s in fall, so.
Exactly. Big three of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Seth Curry. They combined for, 83 points.
That's going to get it done.
Wow. And then, Shake Milton, I was watching this one. Doc Rivers just put him in. He was like, we need a shot in the arm.
Looked like
14
Kobe.
points in the fourth.
Looked like Kobe, yeah.
Yeah, he looked crazy. Ben Simmons, they put him on Trey, I know, for at least second half. I didn't catch the first half.
From the jump. He was on him from the jump. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said in his pregame press or his postgame presser after game 1 that he wanted to guard Trey or else you're going to let them play, which essentially means that they'll let me foul Trey. I'll guard him.
Or he doesn't foul hunt, I'll guard him because I don't want to get those cheap fouls.
Yeah, because Ben Simmons is their point guard. Like in the fast break, they score almost every time because of Ben Simmons. So it's not like a Tony Allen or like a Dylan Brooks. He's an offensive player. They lose him in the offensive end too, but they're more defensive oriented. Ben Simmons is very important on both sides of the ball, so you can't let him picking up those cheap fouls fouling out. But yeah, I mean Danny Green, 1 for 5 from 3. You know Danny. And then Trey on 21 for 11. Fell in love with the 3 again. I felt we went 1 for 7. You know how I hate that with Trae Young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really missing DeAndre Hunter. He missed the second game here.
Yeah.
Just talk to me about this game.
Yeah, just the Hawks front court has been very underwhelming in the playoffs per se. I mean, Capella and Collins combined for 18. They've been okay individually each. They haven't really had a game where both of them have been locked in and elite.
They had a few Knicks games where I was like, okay. Like game 5 was pretty solid for them.
I think in the closeout game, yeah. But I think game 1 Collins was really good, but now both of them were subpar. But Hawks shooters were keeping them in this game, definitely in that second quarter. They were down, I believe, 14, and they drew it within 2 at halftime. And their bench was very, very effective. 2 guys scoring 20-plus. At halftime, their bench had 30. Sixers had nothing.
Exactly.
And those bench units have been killer for the Sixers. Doc Rivers does, line changes for some reason where he puts in a whole new 5. He doesn't stagger Kobe. He doesn't stagger Simmons. It's really weird to me. And that's how they lost game 1. I think, like I told Josh, they went on a 17-0 run, the Hawks bench. And then this one, they let him get back in the game at half, and then.
Well, hasn't that been always kind of been a Doc thing where I'm going to let him play like it's the dream team? He kind of just they're on a 14-0 run. We're going to handle it. You guys are fine. Stay on the court. We're good. That's kind of a Doc thing.
Yeah, so I know you weren't on the last one, but the Hawks bench had an 11-0 run. Doc calls timeout, come back on the floor with the same bench, and the Hawks make 2 more threes to make it a 17-0 run. I'm like, why would you call a timeout and bring the entire
same exact lineup? Like, what can you say in that timeout? Come on, guys, play harder.
Not one. He didn't see one bad play, one bad flaw from any player to be like, okay, I should probably make this change. He's like, they can go back out there. They're fine. But yeah, the bench scoring is probably going to be what keeps this series close, in my opinion, because I just think the Sixers starting lineup is just way more talented, especially if Embiid's going to look this good playing with one healthy knee. And Tobias Harris attacking early and often. I mean, especially without DeAndre Hunter, he's going to get his. I mean, they're throwing like who was it? Solomon Hill, I guess, and that's no match.
He's only good for diving, so I mean,
and he hasn't dove at one loose ball in the postseason. Funny how that works, right? But yeah, the Hawks shooters were pretty good in that first half. In the second half, they kind of cooled off a bit. They only shot 36% from three. So yeah, I mean, the Hawks defense has to be better. They're obviously missing two of their better perimeter defenders, but as long as Embiid's playing like this and the Sixers are dialed in, because their first game effort was piss poor. Yeah. This might be a quick series, quicker than I had predicted.
Yeah, we both have Sixers and 6, right? So the split looks good for us because we have Sixers winning, but I don't think I have Hawks coming back from an 0-2 deficit to win 2 there. So the split looks solid. Yeah, I mean, just to close this out, do you see Clint doing anything to Embiid, or is Embiid looks like he's just messing around out there?
Embiid's toying with him.
He's taking like one-legged, like foot on line 3-pointer middies. Like, he doesn't care. He's doing Euro steps in the fast break. He doesn't care.
And like, what's interesting to me is Clint is really biting on Embiid's pump fakes from like 3 or the
goofy ones
elbow.
Too. Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense either, because why would he like? Why you should let him shoot them, because he's not going to go he's not going to the rim. Like, he's been a lot less aggressive inside with his knee, just rightfully so. So I don't know why he's biting so much. Like, just let him get some shots up, and then if he starts, really grilling you, then get up in him,
make him prove it. Yeah, how's he feeling this game? How's the knee? Because Embiid, like, every like aspect of his game changes day to day, because there's new little nagging injury as whether he lets you know about it or not, because he's just so like little ticky-tack like that. Yeah. So you need to make him prove every single game how he's going to play that game. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't think Clint's doing anything really. I didn't think he would. I was laughing my ass off at people who were like, Clint's going to give, Joel Embiid a tough time.
Sports podcast.
I mean, he really did think that would. Yeah, I was like, I don't know about that, man. But yeah, there's a little breakdown to recap. Let's see. Let's go coaching news. We got a little bit of coaching news.
Let's do it.
So two scenarios to add on to our Celtics scenario with situations with Brad Stevens. Terry Stotts and the Blazers decided to part ways, as well as Steve Clifford and the Magic agreed to part ways. I guess I'll start. Do you think it was a part ways, or do you think that's just kind of like fancy talk for, hey, man, your time's up, let's save some face? Well, we'll start with Clifford, then we'll get into Stotts, because I think Clifford really was a part ways. I think they sent a message at the trade deadline, we're going to rebuild, and Clifford can get an assistant coach job anywhere he wants, just because of his defensive mind. So you disagree with me on that?
No, I feel that. I mean, they don't have much direction right now. Like, they got some picks from a trade that they did with the Bulls, but I mean, they're two best young prospects, I guess I would say. I mean, unless you think Cole Anthony's better than Fultz and Isaac. They're both hurt right now. They don't really know what their outlook is like with those guys, and those are probably their two like brightest stars right now. So I mean,
they need some lottery luck for sure.
They're getting picks that they'll have 2 from the Bulls, and they'll have their own, I believe, unless it was a swap. So, and then they get a new coach in, hopefully like a new culture change. I mean, when you have younger guys and then you're adding in new guys, you need like a change of direction, just to change of scenery, I guess, in-house. So, I mean, yeah, and Clifford probably doesn't enjoy it. He's a pretty good coach, and I don't think he wants to be a part of a rebuild project, since he's, he isn't a young, spry coach. He's getting up there. He probably wants to be on a contender, even if that means being an assistant.
Yeah, just end off the Magic, and then the Terry Stotts one is the fun one, so we'll kind of save that for a second. But if you're the Magic, do you kind of hire a young guy, like a new guy, give him his first crack, or do you kind of do it like Pistons did with Wayne Casey, like hire a respected guy, kind of get
like
that
a Tibbs with like gets the most out of their players.
Yeah, like a guy who's respected and won't doesn't have to start from scratch, but also kind of like expects like, hey, we got to win now. We don't really tank,
I honestly don't think it matters, because like look what the Hornets did, bringing in that Pop disciple. I don't know his last name, but they had a very young Borrego. Thank you. They had a very young team, and it's just like a new culture, like a new let's attack this. But then you also look at like a Pacers hiring I'm not going to attempt his last name. A young coach. I don't know if he was a Pop disciple, but
no, he was from the McMillan staff and
Bjork. It's Bjorkgren. I'm thinking of the Thunder guy.
He will not be there, by the way. Like at the end of the season, like he will be fired.
If you also look at the Thunder, I think his name's like whatever it is, Mark something, Mike something. Like they don't have they do have a direction. It's 37 first round picks, but like where do you go from there per se? So I think it's going to be like a fit candidate who fits.
Yeah. It can go both ways, young or old, good or bad. Like, you just got to get the fit there. Yeah. All right, let's focus on the Blazers now. So after 9 years, it's the only coach Damian Lillard has ever had. He leads the second winningest coach in Blazer history. Terry Stotts and the Blazers agreed to part ways. So I'll start with this, and I want to hear your answer first. Was it a part ways, or was it like an, hey, Terry, it's time?
I mean, even then saying, like, it's time, that's a part. I just feel like he's been there so long and he's been a part of the whole Damian Lillard era that I don't think it was like a, hey, you're fired. It's just like, we need a change here. We've been going at it every year and not getting past the first round besides when they made the conference finals. I think they might have made another second round in 2016. But anyways, I just feel like the clock was running out on this. And, they have a bunch of respect for Stotts and they probably didn't want to fire him. So it's just like, we got to let you go, but we don't want to put the wording of we're letting you go.
They didn't want to do in the walk of shame. They didn't want to, and
like, let's part ways. Let's realize, get to new beginnings, a new start, go our ways.
And do you think Dame co-signed this? Because he did come out and he loves Stotts, obviously, but he did come out and they put the microphone in his face and they're like, what do you think? He's like, he already named some new candidates. Jason Kidd, one of which turned it down. So that was kind of cringe on his part, but he had a few guys, and then we got the normal guys like, JVG, but then
Mark Jackson,
Mark Jackson, the usual suspects.
The recycled coaching candidates, like it's 2K. Yeah, probably. And just to get to the J Kidd thing, it's really interesting. Like I think him turning it down had more to do with like him worrying that Portland front office like might not have wanted him because I think on the original report that like Marcus Spear, whoever put it out there, like, Blazers are looking into these coaching candidates. Kidd wasn't on there. And then Dame comes out the next day or the fall, the same night and says, I want Jason Kidd. And Kidd's like, well, I don't want to like cheat the process. If they don't want me there, like I'm not going to have some
because then you're on a thin leash. Kind of like what Vogel had, because they're like, Kidd has to be your assistant coach because, if you start out the season 10-10, you're out of here. And Kidd's the new head coach. It's kind of like, you don't want to.
Because, like, Vogel was apparently the third option. They wanted Ty Lue, and then somehow J Kidd had more, like, notoriety within the organization. That was just that firestorm. It's very lucky we ended up with a championship because it could have gone down worse than it did in 2019. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with the coaching situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you get Dame's approval, Terry Stotts isn't he's not someone we don't want to let Terry Stotts go. He's a great guy. He's a good coach. He'll be on an assistant staff somewhere. And then he'll probably get every coach gets a third, fourth shot. So Terry Stotts definitely get another shot, especially after being at 9 years. But is this kind of the one move they're going to make, or is this the first domino in the offseason for the Blazers?
It's the steamroll action has started. The bell has rung. It's time. I don't think they're going to blow it up per se, but there will be changes. There's going to be changes.
I don't mean you agree they should entertain the CJ McCollum trade idea, but do you think it'll happen? How realistic is it? Because you get rid of Dame's only coach and his best friend the same offseason. Is that going to convince him to stay? Who knows? Like, what do you think?
Dame will be a part of it. He's going to have that LeBron role in his organization, so I think everything's going to run through him because obviously – That's Portland's biggest star since, I guess, maybe like a Brandon Roy or Clyde Drexler.
He's their biggest star since Clyde.
Clyde? Okay. So, yeah.
Or Bill Walton, if you want to take it.
I was going to say Bill, but I'm like, Brandon Roy, Clyde the Glide. I don't want to be like that disrespectful. So they'll definitely run it through him. They'll entertain CJ offers. I don't know what, like, value-wise, like, you and I talked about it in the parking lot outside that hotel.
Yeah, it took half an hour, so we'll spare everyone the time. But, like, CJ's one of the most untradeable, like, all-stars. His value will be dependent on the dollar.
Eating our Reaper Dave's hot chicken, per se. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the dominoes to come. I also realized, like, we talk about, like, them getting Rocco, which was good. he didn't make like any like all defensive teams, and he's mostly a team defender. And they traded 2 firsts for him. Looking back on it, like what was really going to happen? like he's not like some lockdown defender,
They probably
a
just
rim protector.
They probably just thought like getting at signing Derrick Jones Jr., getting a healthy Nurk back. They felt like they had some integral defensive core pieces.
Speaking of Nurk, did you see his postseason like kind of presser?
Exit interview? No, I didn't.
They asked if he'd be coming back, and he said, well, I just want to find the right situation. They're like, is it here? He's like, not right now. So it seems like he's upset. I don't know about like touches. I don't know if he's still butthurt about the whole like they traded him and started Jokic thing, and then Jokic wins MVP. Like I don't know if he's mad about that. He thinks they're on the same level.
Nurk,
he wants more touches.
You're just not as good, Nurk. I'm sorry.
I think it could. I mean, I think it could really help. But I maybe getting rid of that team. It's tough. It's really tough to judge what they should do. But it's not our job. It is our job in the offseason. We'll get to that.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, let's move on from that. What you want to talk about first? We'll talk about. So yeah, Jokic wins MVP.
All right. Yeah, that's expected.
Pretty obvious.
Well deserved. He played every single game. He got that team to a 3rd seed when they started out as an 8th seed. Countless injuries, COVID, and he was just the last one standing.
All 72 games.
Yeah, every game, last one standing, and his stats were very good too. It wasn't like it was just like by default MVP. I mean, I'll bring up his stats right now actually since I have him handy for our next segment. He had 26 points, career high by far. He upped his field goal percentage to 56%. Shot, what do you shoot from 3? 38% from 3, also career high. 26, 10, and 8. No brainer, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like I said, I try to be quirky. I was like, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate. I'm going to see if Giannis Antetokounmpo is the MVP. He simply wasn't. Nikola Jokic was the MVP.
I think he won it case all year.
Pretty handedly. I think Embiid only got one vote.
And he won first place votes.
Yeah, Embiid only got one first place vote, which I don't think he'd be in the top 3 anyways.
Steph got 5.
Yeah.
Ironically enough.
Steph did get more first place votes than Embiid. Might have to do with the time missed. I still think I should have been in top 3, but who really cares? Next segment is not the one you're thinking of. We forgot. Tibbs wins Coach of the Year.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we'll cover that for 30 seconds. He was my pick. Was it your pick?
I had Monty, and I'm interested because the Coaches Association voted for Monty, but the media voted Tibbs, so a little bit of a dilemma there, but both were well deserved by like either or. I said, I think I texted you. I'm like, yeah, I have Monty, but I think Tibbs is going to win, and that's probably the right choice. But just the way the coaches voted one and media voted other was a little bit interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a little because Monty's killing it right now with the Suns, and Knicks lost in 5 when they were the favorites. But yeah, I think Tibbs. I think he definitely deserved it, especially just the whole New York bump, kind of like with Randall. Yeah. So do you want to introduce kind of the closing tonight here before we get to a preview?
Sure. All right. So I've been on Twitter a lot recently. Just shocker. I am never caught lacking, and there's been a lot of spaces, a lot of just Twitter debates about who's been the best player in the playoffs so far. There's been a lot of names, and I felt like this should be a segment for us because we actually disagreed on one, and this is something I kind of wanted to talk about on here. So how should we start this, Lehman? You want me to go with who my player is?
Sure.
So I'm going to go with I have 2, actually, but I'm going to start with Kevin Durant. Like I had mentioned, he's putting up 32 points per game. His splits are ridiculous. 55, 50, 91, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 1 steal. Absolutely phenomenal. He's best two-way player by far in these playoffs. And doing this all on an Achilles, like coming off an Achilles injury, I mean, you couldn't
more
even...
More two-way than Kawhi?
2 blocks and a steal, and he's been flying around everywhere?
I mean, I think it's close, but I mean...
Did we not just witness a playoff series where Luka Doncic was the best player on the floor and was giving Kawhi help? Anyways, yeah. So my second player, the MVP, Nikola Jokic, the best center in the league. That's the hill I'm dying on. I know Lehman will not like that, but he is definitely one of my top 3 favorite players in the league. He is averaging 31 and 10 on 51. Hold on. 51. Where's the 3-point? 51, 42, 91 splits.
Oh, you good?
Yeah, sorry. There's a big crack down the middle of my computer screen that was blocking out the 3-point percentage. But yeah, these splits as a center are like never before seen. I mean, if I read you those splits, you would have thought it was like KD or like a Steph, not Nikola Jokic. I mean, look at the guy. Like, he doesn't look like a guy that would put up 50, 40, 90 in the playoffs, averaging 30 and 10. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And winning a playoff series with...
Don't pull the goofball card that Jokic doesn't look like it. That's cheating.
Okay, look at me. Look at me. He's like me. Like, we look alike. You get the European
just
faces,
like me.
He won a playoff series with Campazzo and Rivers in his backcourt. They had no business winning that series, even though I picked him in 7. Dame and, they should have ran through him. So, I mean, if he gets to the conference finals, you don't want that because I will be going haywire. So, yeah, those are my 2 top players. I'd probably put Jokic at 1, but he had a subpar game 1 performance, and if he comes back subpar tomorrow, it's probably going to be KD by default.
Yeah, I got to die on this Luka Hill. I mean, he's my favorite player in the league, so it might be a little biased, but the man, I think he had 40 points or more in 5 of the 7 games against the Clippers. And he won't be the best player in the playoffs as it goes on, but he was in the playoffs as of Sunday, so recently, it still counts. And this man was picking apart the Clippers defense. I think he, in one of their last games, in either game 6 or 7, accounted for 41 of their 47 field goals. That's putting the team on your back. And he faced adversity. He was playing a team that was better than him, something that Jokic maybe can say and KD certainly can't say. So, yeah, and he also had probably the best defenders on him. Jokic was guarded by Nurkic in the first round. Now he's guarded by Ayton, who we discussed is a good defender, and he got shut down. So Ayton is the Kawhi to Nikola Jokic. So I just think it really was Luka. And I think when you take into account they really could have won that series when they had no business doing it, it just kind of strengthens this case.
Very good. And I kind of have to agree with you. I was saying Luka was the best player on the floor by far in that series. And, yeah, if he had won that series, I would have top 5 player in the league. I would have started pushing some stuff. But, unfortunately, they didn't win. So, yeah. But good stuff here. And I think now we're going to move into predictions.
Yeah. One thing to say, Luka only has 2 weaknesses, and it's the goddamn free throw line and his bubble gut that he simply cannot have the stamina to continue to persevere in the fourth quarter. But yeah, he was amazing. We only got 3 games to preview. Let's start with Wednesday.
Let's run through
Game 2, Nuggets Suns in Phoenix. Phoenix up 1-0. What you got?
I can't believe I'm doing this to my boy Jokic, but I do have the Suns in 6 here. So I think they're gonna. That crowd is just electric. I mean, I know they lost.
Bunch of Joey Vacas in there.
I know they lost to the Lakers in Game 2, but that's because AD was supernova. But yeah, I'm taking them here, and then I eventually think there's gonna be a split, and then I think whatchamacallit, they'll win like 2 in a row, Denver, and they're like, oh, they're getting hot again, and then Devin Booker's gonna have like 45 in a closeout game. So I'm taking the Suns. I expect the hot shooting to continue. And we're going to see what Jokic does against Ayton. I'm a little bit worried, but I think he'll come through in the most part. It's the teammates that bother me.
I think it's got to be Nuggets. I mean, you said AD went supernova in the game 2. That's why they lost, and then won't happen again. Well, Jokic is going to go supernova, and I think we're getting another classic Austin Rivers phenomenon.
Masterclass.
Yeah, he's going to teach everyone how to hit some clutch threes, and Jokic is definitely going to show that, hey, Ayton might be a good defender. You don't stop Nikola Jokic. You don't make him shoot 10 for 23 twice in one series. It doesn't work that way. And yeah, I think they're going to pull it together. I think Mike Mallone's going to make the correct adjustments, something you can't say about a lot of the coaches up in these playoffs. So yeah, I really do think they'll get the split here. I do have Nuggets in 7 though, so maybe that's just because I don't want my pick for the winner of the series going down 0-2, and I'm blinded by that. We're going to get back into the Thursday, 4:30. 2-3 matchup, Bucks-Nets. That biggest game for the Milwaukee Bucks this season, 100%.
It's Giannis' legacy on the line.
I mean, at this point, yeah. I mean, no one will believe in them ever, like ever.
I'm taking the Bucks. Bucks in a statement win here. It's going to be a 15 to 20 point win.
I'm taking Bucks in a kind of win, not a statement win, kind of like ooh.
Like when they played Miami in game 1 and won 104-93 or something. Or
not just the scoring wise, just kind of like ooh, I'm not that comfortable in my pick that the Bucks are going to win this series, but at least they got a goddamn win.
Like they're up by like 12 but win by 4, and the Nets are feeling good. Yeah, okay.
KD shoots like horribly, so does Kyrie, and like they barely win, like that kind of thing. But I do have the Bucks winning that.
Okay.
And then on the Friday pod, I'll tell you if I have them winning over the weekend. But I'm going to take this game one at a time because this series is going to give me a headache as a Bucks believer.
If the Nets win game 3, would you entertain a sweep?
I would 100% entertain a sweep. If they lose, I'm entertaining a sweep right now. I think
it would be a gentleman's at that point.
I'm doing monkey dances for the sweeps right now. I'm entertaining the whole 9 yards.
I think it would be a gentleman's. Just like KD, just I don't know. He's listening to J. Cole's album until like 3 a.m. the night before and comes out and shoots like 8 for 20 or something.
He's going on dates with Lana Rhodes, or someone on the Nets is. You know how you heard about that. I think it was Blake Griffin. I think it's Blake Griffin that went on that.
It's got to be Blake. He's been with everyone.
And he went on a date with Lana Rhodes, and then he brought a backup girl just in case. That dude's hilarious. Also a budding comedian. Shout out Blake Griffin and Dave Chappelle. Last game of the slate. Like I said, only a 3-game one. Clippers Jazz. Utah lead series 1-0. Clippers have a knack for going down 2-0. But they're also good on the road. So who you got winning this one?
I got the Clippers winning this one. And if they don't, they're going to be like, oh, we got them right where they want them. It's different. Jazz have a way better defense. That you do not I know we said, oh, Dallas is going to be full capacity. Don't go back to Utah down because it won't be friendly. So I think they're going to split it here. PG's going to have a better game than 4 for 17. That's just known. Reggie Jackson probably won't foul out. I think the role players will. It's usually the role players with the Clippers. They were hitting their threes in the first half, then they weren't in the second half. Utah was the complete opposite. This series, like I said on last pod, you weren't here. I'm so fascinated by these, like the shooting of these teams, because it's just going to be who catches fire at the right time, because that's what it was tonight.
Yeah, I got the Clippers winning this one. Split going down back to LA.
Okay.
I don't
that's
really.
A win for him.
I think Ty Lue makes the correct adjustments, and I think then it's going to be up to Quinn Snyder to game 3 to stop just taking what the Clippers give them and going and getting what they need. Because, like we talked about, Nick Batum at center, you're going to feast on the inside. Oh, Reggie Jackson fouls out. Yeah, Clippers gave you that one. Marcus Morris 4-14. They gave you that one. Now they're going to make the correct adjustments. They're going to hit their shots. Now Quinn Snyder's going to have to go, well, if they play their game, how can we still beat them? And I think it's going to be fun to talk about on Thursday's pod. But, it's Clippers winning this one. I think we're going to call it.
That's it. Pretty good.
We're going to call it.
Stuff.
So that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Thanks for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube seeing our stupid faces, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, drop us a follow at TH Hoopers, whether you listen on Spotify, on Twitter, Instagram, George Nakalak without his phone, so you can just get a response whenever you want. Join a Twitter space with him. He'll be bug-eyed. He'll be so excited.
I don't have spaces yet, but I do be joining other spaces. And note, we have 16 Twitter followers now. We're growing.
We are definitely growing. But besides that, thanks for being an OG. Everyone take care. Love y'all.